A remarkable production is making its way from the Grotto of Lourdes to the stages of America. It's called Bernadette the Musical, and it's not your typical story about a saint. The director, a self-proclaimed non-believer, spent a decade trying to say no to this project. The producer's a Wall Street analyst who'd been to a musical exactly 3 times in his life, and the star, a young French girl, now 23, who's literally grown up in the role. Plus, Hollywood legend Kelsey Grammer has signed on as a co-lead producer. This unlikely team has fashioned something that's already captivated audiences across Europe, and now the show is set for its U.S. premiere on February 19th in Chicago. I sat down recently with the director, a producer, and the star of the show to find out why Bernadette's story still matters.
Apparition miraculeuse, une jeune fille dit avoir vu la Vierge.
Serge Denoncourt is one of Canada's most celebrated directors. He's done everything from Annie to Hair, but when a French producer first approached him about directing a musical about Saint Bernadette, his answer was immediate.
Say that will never happen. I'm not a believer. I was not interested. I did direct like 150 shows in my life, and I said I won't be
not doing this.
No. And they insist a lot, and then they invite me in Lourdes. Didn't work.
You went to Lourdes, and what happened?
Yeah, didn't work. I was not convinced, and then
Not convinced of what?
That I should direct that show.
Okay.
And then I went with some scholars who knows everything about Bernadette, and I asked questions, and they show me like a book written by the inspector, all the notes.
Who interrogated Bernadette.
Yeah, so you have the question and the answers, and in a bad French because they're not so educated.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by Bernadette, who just said, no, you're wrong. He was saying, oh, you saw the Virgin Mary? No, I never said that. She was so tough and stubborn, and I said, I love that girl. And then I asked them, when did she say she saw the Virgin Mary? And there was a moment, and they said, she never said it. I said, okay, we have a show. There's a good story there.
Why did you think that was the linchpin?
For me, because if you have to direct a show about a saint that you already know that she's a saint, what's the point? And the true story, because I'm all about the historical thing, is that she saw something, and I think she's not a liar. She saw something, some light, some voices, and she said, I don't know what it was. So it was the Virgin Mary? I don't know. Why are you saying? Yes, but it should be I don't know. She was so honest, because she could have said, yes, it's the Virgin Mary, and I'm somebody so important, that she didn't do that. So you think, okay, maybe she's crazy, maybe she's sick, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you have the spring, when she discovered the spring, which is a miracle.
Yeah.
And so whatever she saw, you say, oh, something happened there.
Pierre Ferragut is about as far from Broadway as you can get. He's a Wall Street analyst who sings only at Mass, off-key I might add, but a chance encounter at a dinner party in France changed everything.
At a dinner party in France 3 years ago, I met someone who had a very nice sweatshirt with the face of Bernadette on his shoulders. And I asked him, where did you find your sweatshirt? I want to buy the same to my kids.
Yeah.
And he told me the story that he actually helped produce a musical about the life of Bernadette. And we talked about it the whole night.
Wow.
And at the end of the evening, I told him, well, what you guys are doing is beautiful. I think it's a great way to very positively influence the culture. I love it. If there is anything I can do to help you, let me know. I live in New York. I'm a Wall Street guy.
Wow. How did Kelsey Grammer get involved?
I had been to a musical only 3 times in my life before I met these people. So
really?
I had really no interest in the musical, but then
and you'd never produced anything before?
Never produced anything before.
Wow.
So I said yes, but I wasn't too sure what to do. And at some point, I ended up talking about it to my spiritual director, Father Mark Edu. And I told him, I have this situation where people have asked me to help them. I think the right thing to do is to help them, but I have no idea what to do. And Father Mark said, well, I'm a priest, so I don't know either. And I was like, well, thanks for your help.
Yeah.
But then he said, well, you know, I met Kelsey Grammer a few years ago in Rome, and I think I still have his phone number. Do you want to call him? And so we called Kelsey together.
Oh.
And Kelsey, I sent a video of the French show with English subtitles to Kelsey, and Kelsey immediately said he basically said literally, how can I help?
Huh.
And then we came to like share, you know, the burden of the production.
What is the message here, and what do you hope people of faith, Catholics and others, will get from this production?
As a kid, growing up in France in a Catholic family, my dad is a member of the Order of Malta, so Lourdes was really part of my life. I went there as a child, and I was really touched by the spirituality of the place, the experience with like sick people, older people going to Lourdes for healing, and the notion of spiritual healing. But the one thing that really didn't interest me was the story of the little girl. She was like poor, didn't even go to school, she got bullied, she was very sick, very fragile health, she died very young. She went straight into a convent after the events, so it was really not appealing. And then I watched this show in Paris, and I realized the little girl was actually an amazing girl. She was like a real teenager. She reminded me my number 4, who was at the time 14 years old, and her relationship with her dad and with her mom, her attitude towards like the priest, towards the police. She was like a fantastic personality. And she had, you know, she was really a little girl. So she wasn't a saint like Serge, the director, likes to say. She wasn't made a saint yet. She was like a very normal girl with an exceptional fate.
Emma was just 14 years old when Serge first met her at her home in France. She knew nothing about Saint Bernadette, nothing about Lourdes, and she certainly didn't think she was going to spend the next 8 years of her life playing the role. Tell me about Emma, who you cast as Bernadette.
Yeah.
Why her? What did you see?
So, because it was so obvious. She was 14 when I met her. She was 14, and I was at her home, and people say, maybe you can find your Bernadette there. I didn't do an audition. I talked with her, and I said, sing me something. And she was at the table, 14, very shy. Too shy to be an actress. And I said, that's the one I want.
She had that quality that Bernadette would have, that reticence.
And it was great because I just tell her the story, and she fell in love with the character as a 14 years old girl. She thought that Bernadette was amazing. So she's still on the show because she looks young.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to have her with me.
You chose me when I have nothing to give.
Serge mentioned that you're not a believer when you came to this. You weren't raised Catholic.
I thought that there were a lot of pop, you know. I didn't know that they were just there was just one pope.
Oh.
At the beginning, because
you thought there were many popes.
Yes, why not?
What did you come to realize about this girl in playing her? How long have you been playing the role?
I started when I was 15. I'm 23 now.
What have you learned from playing Bernadette?
Since I'm on this cast in Lourdes, I learned the simplicity. Lourdes, it's a big city of hope, love, and I like to be with people and to share just the story of Bernadette. And I like the character of Bernadette.
What do you like about her?
She is like a girl like me, like other girls, and she fights for her ideas. And I love.
She fights for what she saw and the truth that she encountered.
She fights for the truth. Yes. It's so interesting.
Has it changed you at all, playing the role?
Yes.
As a person?
Of course. I studied when I was a kid, a little girl, like Bernadette. And I grew up with this role, so everything is like changing with me, and yes.
Do you believe Bernadette and her vision, personally?
I think that she saw something. Like she said in the show, it's something nobody knows.
And what did she say? She saw a lady in light?
She saw a lady dressed in white.
When you're down on your knees, so just go on your way, and your back's to the wall, and leave all you can.
What's remarkable about Bernadette the musical is how it's transcended the obvious audience. This isn't just playing to Catholic pilgrims in Lourdes.
It's one of the most complicated show I have to talk about, because the believer, they believe, they love this show. They just love it. They come to see the show. They are ecstatic. The non-believer, we have to convince them to come just to say, it's just a good show. If you're interested by history, what happened in France at that time. So they come, and they finally love the show. Because I tell the story of that little girl before she became a saint.
Is that a lot of media, secular media, came to watch the show with kind of like probably like a negative angle and came back with very, very positive reviews. And reviews were about, it's a story about girl power. It's a story about a teenager being bullied on Instagram. It's a story of a 14-year-old girl and her dad and the difficult love between a dad and a 14-year-old. And all these stories really generated, I can't remember a single negative or mixed review. All reviews were very positive, even from the most like anti-clerical, anti-religious press. And then that actually attracted, I think, a lot the Catholic audience.
What do you want young women who come to see the show, what do you want them to take from your performance and the character of Bernadette?
Just to follow their ideas, their opinions, to stay ourselves.
To be true to yourself.
Yes.
To be true to yourself.
Yes.
Bernadette the musical premieres on February 19th with previews starting February 12th at the Athenaeum Center in Chicago, Illinois. And then it begins its national run across the U.S. For tickets and showtimes in Chicago and all the other stops, visit BernadetteTheMusical.com.